I like working with you guys. You never know what you're going to be up to. Just when you're feeling like, oh, I might not have any content to film, ta-da. When you're working for a guy that owns a farm, working on his buildings, well, you never know what you might get wrangled into. And
I'll tell you when he's pushing.
something will happen.
Yeah, okay. Go. Whoa. Now he's got a whole bunch of shit stuck. The wheels aren't even touching the fucking ground anymore.
Well, I like working with you guys. You never know what you're going to be up to. I don't want, guy doesn't want to get bored.
No, I guess not.
Look at all that stuck by underneath the trailer. Anyways, oh, adventure everywhere. Not only did we get to help, but now we get to drive this giant Kubota back to wherever it needs to go. So he said to clutch in. Oh, there's a park brake. Definitely want to take the park brake off. That isn't good. Whenever something makes a horrific noise like that, you're best to be concerned, but oh, this seems fast enough. Mind you, shuttle shift, he said. You just give it a bump. Oh yeah, now we're cooking. In two-wheel drive, we're cooking. I think we'll just take her slow and steady. No reason to get out of control. So the idea, like all us guys get into, well, the ground looks solid, and it would be so much easier if you could just back in just a snicker and load up a few cattle without getting too involved, right? Easy peasy. Well, we folks are at the point in the year where the snow is not as solid as it once was maybe, and the manure are real deep. And down she went. Not that old Duramax power, it just couldn't do her. If you couldn't tell, that stock trailer was not vacant. There was some lovely ladies in there. That's why we took her nice and gentle. But thousands of pounds of McDonald's hamburgers sitting in there. So you got to take her slow and steady. You could let them out, but well, then you'd have to round them all back up again, as I was told. And I'm glad we didn't have to do that. Don't have my long johns on. So let's see if we can't get this tractor home in one piece. Now I know some guys watching, they're interested in equipment. It's a Kubota M7 172. I believe that's what it says. That's the best I can tell reading on the side of the hood, but I'll tell you, it is a few degrees bigger than that 60 horsepower tractor I plow my driveway with. If you haven't seen those videos, well, head back a couple. It's appeared. I think in a couple renditions ago, I was singing some Miley Cyrus content. You're not going to see that here today. Smooth as silk, man. I got a hydraulic ride seat, radio. Look at it, it's got a little passenger seat here. You can take your sweetheart for a cruise if you were so inclined. I think if you were to ask the gentleman that owns it, and you'd recognize the gentleman that owns it, long-term watchers of the channel, be fans of Garth, the guy with the heavy equipment. We drove his loader last summer. There's some good videos on that. Put in a few septic systems together. Good times. This is generally how I end up in these situations. You hang around with interesting people, you end up doing interesting things. It's been a long time, actually. I grew up on the farm, and my parents' place was adjoining the main farm property. So I spent my whole life growing up on a farm, which, in my opinion, you can't get a better childhood than that. I mean, it's not like it was everything. I thought it was all fun. What am I trying to say here? It was fun, but what I'm saying now, older, I think the real value came from all the things you got exposed to. Like, you'd be driving a tractor like this when you were kind of a little kid. You got to do a lot of things that other folks never got the chance to do, with learning about animals and equipment. And I think one of the biggest things maybe that I took away from it, and I didn't know it at the time, but I know now, because I just have the ability to fix and figure out a couple things, is it just gave you a sense of resourcefulness. You watched other industrious gentlemen, like the guys in my family, and you just kind of picked up on that. There wasn't this can't be done, we got to call somebody. And that's where the theme of the channel kind of comes from. You just do it. You just got it done. You figured out a way to get through it. And there's no better example than that than farming. And whatever your image or thought of, it's different in every part of the country. It varies even in Canada from province to province what people think it means to be a farmer, because there's quite a variety of different kinds of farming. But she is not for the faint of heart. I'm not sure I would do it. I know I wouldn't do it. It's variety beyond belief. Variety beyond belief. For what seems like a snippet for me and you to watch, it looked like maybe a good time to pull the truck out, and there's a tractor and whatever. For the guy that's in charge of the whole operation, well, that's just another thing, a delay in the day that could potentially cost money or lead to downtime. So the joy is not the same. I am glad, though, that we got to participate. And look at the beauty day it is. Look at, we're talking blue blazer out here. How can it get better than that? Oh boy, I'm gonna go back. I'll show you what we're doing when we get back. I'm putting up some tin cladding in a building, a real nice kind of doing some finish work. Turning out gorgeous. All right, now we're back to work. This is what we're here for, not tractor driving. Tin finishing. So I got you set up. These aren't huge sheets. They are, what are they? I don't know, 17 feet long. I think they're 17 feet. We'll see if we can't get another one up and in. Could be a little tricky. You gotta get it in the J trim and then slide it over. But I'll tell you, it looks fantastic when it's done. Now the key to any tin success, you gotta taco it. taco, taco, taco. Get her up. Just like that. And then you gotta give her up. Flip to get it flattened out again. She's stuck. All right, so what you can do, rather than letting the whole thing fall, you got my screw holes marked here already. It's stuck in the J-trim, so it can't fall. So we're just gonna go ahead, screw it to the wall. It could just be tricky on pieces when you're by yourself, where you're working in more than one piece of J-trim. So up there at the window, I'm going in the ceiling trim and around the window all at the same time. Well, as you can imagine, tin's got a lot of sharp, jaggedy edges that want to get stuck. So this lets me put it in place. Then I can get a ladder, get it in at the top, and yeah, maneuver it in by myself. Unless, of course, I just cut it incorrectly and it doesn't fit. Let's see. We've got clearance on the bottom. That's good. Oh yeah, see? It's on the wrong side of the operation here. Can I get it? Folks, got her. Now we're talking. This tin profile is what they call rainbow rib. So the most common profile of tin that you're gonna see if you've been watching YouTube and stuff is like a tough rib. It's usually like a 7/8 of an inch rib profile. So this has the same amount of ribs, but these ribs are only, they're just over 1/2 an inch, I think. So it's a lot flimsier tin. It has a much smoother look, but it is a lot more give to it. So these sheets, you can actually force them. Like if you get it right at the top and at the bottom, you're out just a little bit. When you screw that down, that whole piece will torque, and over the span on a long wall, it'll head you straight to disappointment. Did this turn into a bit of a vlog video? Are you appreciating a day with Spruce Stomper? So there's a few ways to do electrical in a building that's gonna be clad with steel. A lot of times it's surface run with conduit, but in this case of this building, and this is of course increasingly more difficult if you wire the building before you put the tin up, ideally what you're going to want to have happen is your electrical outlets are going to land in the flat, because of course if it's on the rib, then these cover plates don't fit well and you end up with a funny look. So it takes a lot of patience and a lot of effort to do the layout, because of course the electrician has to land everything exactly where you want it, so that through the next processes you end up with outlets that only land in the flats of the tin. It provides a very clean look, so I'm glad we did it. So in this case, that's where we're at. So if you're wondering, so how do you cut these out? All I do is I pick a reference. In this case, I knew where the bottom of the window was. I measured down, and then I measured over from the last sheet of tin this way, and of course it should land in the center, and then I just drill a hole, and there, ta-da, is the plug, and then I'll show you how I cut it out. So you're gonna have your red and your green, left and right snips, and then what I like to do, get enough screws in so the tin isn't flimsy, and then just start in a hole, and here you wanna go slow and steady. Just slowly cut a spiral pattern like this, and then you got something to hang on to. Now you just slowly cut that spiral in little bits until you can see the edges of the box, because there's no second chance with this. You overcut it and the cover plate doesn't catch, then the whole sheet of tin is no good. There's no fix. So you just go, well, there's the edge, get up to the top, square that off, And then you just gently kind of rough it out. All you're looking for is to have the plug exposed so you can get at the screw for the cover plate. That's all you need. Just like that. So there, I'll show you when I'm done, but that's typically how I would go about doing these. And well, I've had a reasonable degree of success. Break that off. Everything's real sharp, of course, nice and sharp. Over to the edge of the box, like so. Now you could do this a lot more sloppily, I guess, you know, because it is indeed just covered. It's just covered up by the cover plate, but that's not the point of doing it. If you're gonna do it, you might as well make it look nice. Nicely squared off, no sharp jaggedy points. Got those out. And the last quarter here, I like to square them off. I think it looks nice. Make sure that's out. There, done deal. Just like that. So you got that nice tight finish. So when this plug's popped out, it'll just catch the edges of the tin, and your cover plate holes are free and clear, and then your cover plate will real classy cover all that. And in this case, stainless steel cover plates, they're blue right now. They look blue, but it's just the protective skin that peels right off. So a little bit extra work, because of course you can't just put your plugs on a stud. You gotta whatever works for you for layout, but you gotta mark where the boxes are gonna go, and then you gotta put a little extra blocking in the wall to mount your electrical boxes too for the electrician as you go. But in this case, how this building is built, that's the way it was done, and it is like super clean. So there you go. That's how I do that. I think the tractor thing is a fierce debate too, eh? Just like guys that get real worked up talking about different brands of truck, which one's the best. I mean, I think tractors bring the same sort of crowd. They get real fiercely loyal to the brand. What color is it? Are you a green guy or an orange guy or a red guy or whatever? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm a fan of something that was the right price. I didn't buy a Kubota by choice. It was the right price. I would have bought anything, honestly, that would have moved snow. My first tractor was a 1960s Ford Super Major. And it was diesel. It wasn't a gas job. It was a diesel. It had a front end loader on it, and I don't think it was original to the unit, but it had a backhoe attachment on it. And it had a backhoe attachment off an actual construction backhoe. So to give you an idea, the backhoe attachment probably weighed 2/3 as much as the entire tractor. So you couldn't steer it. If it was sitting still, you couldn't go anywhere because it had no power steering. And it had, from the weight, the steering arm on the front, the spindles were bent, you know, on the tractor, which made it even worse. So what you do is you'd pop the clutch, you'd put it in gear, you'd pop the clutch, and just ride it at the right RPM to get the weight up off the front tires, and then you could kind of maneuver around a little bit. I bought that tractor on a whim off a guy I worked with. The intention was, like a lot of things you guys have seen me undertake, there wasn't a lot of direction, it just seemed like fun. So I bought it, I hired a tow truck to haul it home. The road bands were on, which means there's actual restrictions. There's restrictions of weight. Well, I phoned the tow truck and I never told them what they were coming to pick it up. I just said it was a tractor. They didn't ask no further questions. A kid shows up. It didn't fit on the flat deck, the flat deck tow truck. It just fit just over the center point of the rear wheels, fit on there. And then this whole backhoe attachment was hanging off the back, and the kid didn't want to go. And I kind of, I told him, you can do it, my friend. So we took the back roads home, and going through the back way, you had to go over a railway crossing. And he comes up across this railway crossing, and there was so much weight over the rear axle of that tow truck that the front end comes up off the ground. I mean, it was off the ground a couple of feet, eh? The whole truck goes like this. His eyes are as big as saucer dish. And anyways, it calmed back down. And what are you going to do at that point? I mean, we were midpoint. There was no turning back now. And I wasn't going to help him unload it. He wouldn't drive it on the truck. I drove it on for him. And so, of course, he wasn't going to be brave enough to drive it off. So anyways, he got it home. We got her home in one piece. Cost me $150 to get this dang tractor hauled, versus hiring an equipment trailer or something to haul it. But it was a good time. I bought it just to dig the foundation on the shop. The shop rebuild you guys have seen in videos. It's not a rebuild. The building's brand new, but I neglected to finish it. Anyways, dug the foundation. All the foundation with this dang backhoe. It was the most cumbersome, dumb idea that I probably cooked up in a long time. Everybody just shaking their heads because it was horrible. This sloppy old tractor, no maneuverability. It took forever. And we got to the very end, and there was, I don't know, maybe 20 feet, 15, 20 feet of foundation left to dig. Oh, we're arrived here. There's maybe 15, 20 feet of foundation left to dig. And what happened was the boom and everything was so sloppy side to side, back and forth, that I couldn't dig the trench wide. Every time you tried to go out and dig a little bit wider, the pins were so sloppy that it would just, oh, I'm getting stuck here. It's in two-wheel drive. The bucket would just fall into the original hole. So if you've done any concrete work, I gotta pay attention here for a sec. This, I think he said you gotta push 2 buttons and bumper, yeah, see, and then it goes into a different range. And then we're gonna go put in 4-wheel drive. There. No sense. We don't need to get stuck in the last 10 feet here. Oh, I don't think I put it in 4-wheel drive, to be honest. Oh, now we're in trouble. I don't know what I pushed. That wasn't the right button. Now it's in 4-wheel drive. I pushed the wrong button. That was a diff lock. Auto and manual diff lock. There, now it's in 4-wheel drive. Where was I at here? I gotta finish my point before I forget. So the boom was so sloppy that you couldn't get wide, so I kept putting side pressure on this shitty old boom. This crappy boom is already broken, and then anyways, of course, ramming and forcing. All of a sudden, the boom broke right off. The main pivot pin where it attaches the tractor, the eyes broke off, and 2,000 pounds of steel and crap just fell right into my excavation trench. And that was the end of the old backhoe. We recruited my mom and my dad, helped me dig the rest of it by hand. And I sold the tractor, and I sold the backhoe attachment separate, broken and all, to 2 separate people. And I think I almost made 2.5 times my money as to what I paid for it. So there you go. There's a farm tractor story for you. Glass half full. Anyways, thanks for joining. As always, you just never know what we're going to get up to, but it's always going to be adventure. Catch you later.